Welcome to the 377th episode of the Jami Dulaney Plant-Based Wellness Podcast. My name is Jami Dulaney, and I'm your host. I'm a plant-based cardiologist and endurance athlete living in Southwest Florida. Welcome, and thank you for listening. Well, my running streak ended right after I recorded the last podcast. Toe update. Caught my toe on the dishwasher molding. You'll have to listen to the last podcast for the nitty-gritty details. Thought it was going to be all right. Turns out it was broken, not dislocated. And the podiatrist actually said that wasn't too bad. So according to if I could get the swelling out, no real restriction. So I've been soaking and massaging and all those kind of things and still kind of swollen. However, I did resume running this week. So I resumed running on Tuesday. Monday, I went to the pool and swam. Didn't feel too bad. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I've been running and up it. Started out with 1.5 miles and a little bit further. And today I did 3.7 miles. Not too bad. The only shoes that are comfortable are my Newton road shoes. Give my little toe enough breathing room and nothing folds in on it. So it's pretty comfortable. So I'm out for this weekend's 50-miler in Huntsville, Alabama, the Hoka 50. I believe I'll be in, unless I do something else stupid, for the Treasure Coast Marathon, March the 4th. So I'll be taking the plant-based striders and running alongside of our group. Again, if you'd like to join us, come on down. And then we decided, still trained. Felt like I was in pretty good shape, so let's sign up for a 50-miler in April. So April 9th, we have one on the books. So we'll see how that goes. So this race is called Brazos Bend 50 in Texas, just west of Houston. It's a pretty flat trail course, so that's better. It's going to be in April, so it's warmer, plus minus. If it's real warm, that becomes a little bit of issue. The thing that's a little bit tricky about this 50-miler is because it's next to Houston and because it's warmer, it is in alligator country. So I've never really been a friend of reptiles. When we talk about our stories, my reptile story started when I was little with a snake on the carport and my mother freaking out, and then a copperhead when I was riding my little bike at my grandmother's and neighbor having to save us from the copperhead and, don't touch snakes. My mother was always afraid of snakes, so I hated snakes. I had nightmares about snakes as a little kid. We had a cottage in the mountains where there were rattlesnakes. I saw one when I was riding my mini bike, scared me to death, went the other direction. So I was always afraid of, death by, we had a rattlesnake kit growing up. So if you got bit, you could make an incision and suck out the venom while you were trying to get an hour down the mountain to a hospital. So obviously that's not what you wanted to do. And I was always allergic to bee stings, so I assumed that I'd have the worst outcome if I got bit by a reptile. So you can see where I'm going with this. I never was so crazy about reptiles. And of course, we moved to Florida, and I learned more about alligators running. I started actually running when I was in Florida for any distance, and I ran in the neighborhood. And I'd run in the morning before my daughter got up, and I was running one spring, and I heard this big roomp, roomp, and I thought they were bullfrogs. And I don't really mind frogs, and I don't mind lizards, so I guess those reptiles are okay. But snakes, no. Alligators didn't have much experience with. Well, I was in the office, and I was talking to one of my patients about, the frogs down here in Florida are really big. These bullfrogs must be huge because I hear this big romp, romp. And he said, sweetheart, that's not a bullfrog, that's an alligator, and it's alligator mating season, and you better beware. Well, I lived on the golf course at this time, and so there are all these little lakes, from hole to hole, and so the alligators had to cross over to get from one lake to the other, and the road that I ran on was in between the lakes, and one morning I looked up, and there was actually an alligator sitting in a driveway. There was an alligator one morning under my parents' neighbor's car in their garage. So there was an alligator in the lake near our house that we had to have moved, relocated. So I just was a little bit leery about alligators. And after that, I actually got a treadmill. And I ran for a long time on the treadmill, training for my first marathon actually on a treadmill for the most part, or running during the day where I could see the alligators instead of running at night. So I've done a triathlon in a lake where after the triathlon was over, I saw an alligator in the lake that we had been swimming in the little lake across the road that was very near that one. And I was told that don't be first, don't be last, and don't go too wide when you're swimming and you'll be fine. And so I've always tried to stay in the pack and not be too far away. We did a little trail running down in Florida here when we were first started doing some trail races. And of course, we went out in the summertime when it's really murky and the water, there was a lot of water on the course. And, we were running with our, you'd go run through waters that was up over your ankles. And I just kept thinking, I wonder what's in the water that I can't see, because you couldn't see. It was all muddy. And I was worried about alligators the whole time we were out running a 5-6 mile loop, only to get out, in the open a little bit thinking I'm okay. And then all of a sudden a bunch of alligators jumped in the water on this canal. And they were baby alligators, but baby alligators are notoriously near their mother. And mother alligators are very protective over their babies. So again, I have a really good respect. Every year there's some sort of story where somebody falls in the canal and has an alligator incident. They have to open the alligator to find the person, the arm, the whatever. So, there are some alligator stories down here where alligators seem to be somewhat aggressive. And so I got to kind of get over that for this race, because it does start in the dark. And I heard somebody describe how they're running and they see very yellow eyes in the distance, and it kind of creeped them out, the people that were doing 100-milers. And so I got a little bit of work to do on my alligator. So I thought I'd give you a little alligator update. I'm trying to get past all this with the alligators. And of course, I always think about, you never hear about anybody getting eaten in this race, or having any kind of alligator trauma. So it's probably pretty rare. Mississippi has the largest gator population. Alligators are the largest reptile in North America. They were once endangered, but they're not now. There's actually about 1 million alligators in the continental United States. Interesting, alligators have 74 to 80 teeth, and they get more teeth. So teeth fall out, and then as they get older, they get teeth. And they may have over 2,000 teeth in their lifetime. Just think if humans figured that out. It's kind of funny with evolution that, if we have a reptilian brain, but we didn't get their dental prowess. So, it would have put dentists out of work if, had more than 2,000 teeth. Who needs to brush your teeth? You're just going to get more, right? They continue to grow throughout their lifetime and reached up to 15 feet or 1,000 pounds. People think they're slow and sluggish, and I know that's not true because I've seen an alligator run. They can either crawl on their belly or get up and stand, kind of stretch their legs up so they're off the ground. And when they're off the ground, they can move up to 30 miles an hour for periods of time. I can't run that fast. So they have a place. They have a role in the ecosystem. Alligators are, for the most part, eat carnivores. They're pretty smart. They'll even put twigs and stuff on their head, so a bird thinks that they might be nesting material, and they'll grab it and eat the bird. I'm not going to run with a nest on my head, that's for sure. But they also have been eat citrus and other vegetables on occasion, if need be. And they're said to have spread citrus and other fruit seeds. So they're like, Johnny Appleseed, so Johnny Alligator. Spreading orange trees over plantations. Wikipedia says they're more afraid of humans, and I'm hoping that's true. I think that perhaps it's equal right now, but they do make hissing sounds, so they'd rather you not bother them. So if I can pay attention and watch for their yellow eyes, and if you see them in front of you, you should stop and give them a chance to go away, and typically they will. But I won't be going in front of them if they don't. So my strategy will be let the alligators cross and have their way, even if I probably have to run back the other direction 50 miles, I might. So we'll see, but I'm going to keep working on my alligator, my alligator phobia as we go. So on to the next topic. I am, I told you last time, I'm taking this all in stride. And I've been doing a lot of strength training. And again, went to the pool, and that's all good. Working on my mobility, so I'm very happy about that. So everything's going good, and I've managed to maintain a positive outlook on my little toe, and everybody's been very supportive. So I thank everybody for that. I've been wearing my running shoes, Escalantes, that give me a lot of room to work. So not fashionable, but pretty comfortable. So I was talking about, or I was actually reading a little bit, and there are places where there are food deserts, where typically inner cities or bad neighborhoods or out in the country where and a lot of times food or Dollar General or the Dollar Tree will move in, and there's a lot of cheap food, but not a lot of produce. And a lot of times people will eat and get a lot of their food from convenience stores, and obviously there's not much way in healthy food in those places. And so that's called a food desert, and people can get calories, but they don't get nutrients, so it results in a lot of obesity. Back in the 40s, 50s, when there wasn't much food and people were poor, they tended to be thin. But now people tend to be heavy that have poor access to good, nutritious fruits and vegetables. And that's somewhat, associated with food insecurity. So people may get their meals from fast foods or convenience stores or such. But then there's also a thing as far as people use food when they get nervous, or when they get sad, or when they get, obviously we use food when we get happy to celebrate. And a lot of times people stress eat. And stress eating tends to occur not when people are stressed inside, but stress from outside their environment. So someone or something stresses them, and they retreat, and they eat what is called, to them, comfort foods or some quick fix. And a lot of people will say that when people stress eat or go for comfort foods, it is a form of having control. So it may be in that person's life the only time they get to choose, and they're in control of what they eat. You can't tell me what to eat. I have control over this. And so it brings them immediate comfort, perhaps a dopamine, serotonin surge with something salty or sugary, but it also gives them back a sense of control, and that can result in obviously just as big a problems as not having access to good food at all. And really, this aspect is probably just as common as not having access to good nutrients, but again, results in similar health issues. So the question would be, if you're having trouble with stress and stress eating and going to comfort foods, why not refocus that and change that into a control over your health, as opposed to your food choices, but a control to choose what you choose for your health and well-being. And I think sometimes that comes back to people don't feel worthy of good health, or worthy of being thin, or worthy of being fit. And so I think the first step is to help people understand that, every human being is worthy, and every human being deserves to have nutrient-dense, healthy foods, and everybody gets to have a choice. I talk a lot about choices when they choose their food, and use that control, or use that desire to have control to make more healthy choices, and a kind of a me first. I think that a lot of times caregivers in particularly take care of everybody else, and their self is last. I've heard of, people women especially, that they take care of everybody else, and then they just grab what they can and run out the door. And obviously that results in a lot of grazing, a lot of overeating, perhaps a lot of not eating, then binge eating. And it's because they're spending a lot of times putting others first, and they don't ever take care of themselves. One way around that is to make a mealtime. So whether it's a mealtime, and I particularly am a huge fan of family mealtime. I think to sit down together, and we've always been a family that's enjoyed sitting down and eating together. and having discussions and conversations and looking each other in the eye, no matter what was going on. So whether it was a sporting event or something else, we take time before we go or take time after and make the food and sit down. And then everyone has the opportunity to get a nutrient-dense, healthful meal without grazing or without being in a hurry and time to digest. So I come back to, people say, why I can't do something, or the excuses of why it's just not convenient, or they have time, or they're not worthy. Most people don't say they're not worthy, but it's really kind of in the underlying background, I believe. But people that are more confident or determined, like, we're coming up on the Super Bowl this weekend. People, some of the quarterbacks, I can't remember who said it first, but he, coined the phrase, why not me? Why not us? Why not? Why don't we deserve to be healthy? Why not me? Why should I not have good food? Why shouldn't I get to choose nutrient-dense food? And I really like that phrase, why not me? There's no reason. It can be you. And that's part of taking control and taking charge in a stressful situation. When I was in medical school and there was a code or something happening acutely to somebody, the idea would be to calm everybody else around and do things in a very orderly fashion to help that person the most and the most efficiently. So there were code teams and people were responsible and to do whatever. But it's very, very important to be calm in the setting of an emergency situation. So why not me when it applies to food choices or stressful situations? Why not me take control of the situation, slow things down, make a meal and sit down and eat it, have a menu in mind and carry out with it, take control of your life by first taking control of your food choices. And, in reality, that's going to help people a lot get into a better, nutrient pattern, less salt, blood pressure goes down, heart rate goes down, improved digestion, lack of, less pain. It's a win-win situation for everyone. So why not me when it comes to slow things down? Now, why not me? I think, anybody can put their health first, or their health at least with the rest of their family. They deserve that. It's the Olympics. I was bobsledding in the luge and things like that. You say, well, I want to be a luge or a bobsledder. Why not me? That might be a little bit difficult depending on the age of my audience, but, you always have the opportunity to go sled riding. Why not me? I don't care what age you are, you can go sled riding. I saw a video the other day of an older man that he wanted to learn to ice skate and figure skating to ice dance, and he did. Why not me? Run a first marathon. A lot of people do Ironman at a very late age, marathons at a very late age, take up running, take up dance. Why not me? All of that is possible rather than the reasons why I can't. I particularly like, again, back to the Super Bowl and the ads. I assume we'll see this ad. I hope we do, where an older gentleman is lifting cans and put his old jogging suit on, and he was basically lifting and training to go visit his grandson and to be able to take care of him. And I think that's huge. And of course, it hit very hard on my heartstrings because I want to be able to play with my grandson and take care of him, and those are very important things. My mom trains as a great-grandmother to go visit her granddaughter and her grandson, and she doesn't say, I can't. She says, why not me? Why can't I? And I think that attitude is huge, and it also sets a good example for your friends and around you. So why not me? I think you should. We are on the weekend before Valentine's Day. So before this next podcast will come out, there'll be Valentine's Day. It is very interesting that Saint Valentine's Day has been around for a long, long, long time. Saint Valentine was a priest who was imprisoned for ministering to Christians in Rome during the Roman Empire during the 3rd century. And it says, the story has it that he restored sight to the person's jailer, the person that jailed him, his blind daughter. And when he was about to be executed, apparently he wrote her a farewell letter and signed it, "Your Valentine." St. Valentine died 269 AD. And, that is pretty amazing that, a holiday as Valentine's Day that we think of as Russell Stover chocolates and little Valentines goes back that far. When I was in grade school, we made the shoebox and everybody got a Valentine and you signed one to everybody in the class. And I remember my father would bring home, my dad didn't buy gifts, but on Valentine's Day, probably because he liked candy, but he would bring my mom and I home a box of chocolates. I get a smaller one, she'd get a bigger one. I think he might have got himself one too, I don't know. But nevertheless, it was very special because it was something he did on his own for me. And I think it's, it has so much power. And it says so much about, again, the human need for love and kindness that has kept Valentine's Day going. And as cheesy as sometimes people may make it, those little acts of a few pieces of chocolate or a homemade cake or something for someone, a card, means a lot to people. Just a happy Valentine's Day. Julia herself, who was the daughter of the Roman jailer, is said to have planted a pink almond tree in St. Valentine's honor. So I thought, well, that's pretty cool. I thought maybe, the almond tree is now supposedly a symbol of love and friendship. So I thought, I wonder about amaretto. My mother loves amaretto, and it's kind of almond flavor. And I wonder, maybe that has something to do with love and friendship as well, because it's a sweet drink and so forth. But amaretto means, or amaro, if you break it down, means bitter. Didn't quite take that far enough out, but nevertheless, a pink almond tree is said to be a symbol of love and friendship. I might have to get one for the backyard. I don't know if we can grow. I think there are. There's you can grow macadamia nuts in Florida. I don't know if you can grow a pink almond tree, but I'll have to look into it. So when people draw a heart, they don't typically draw it anatomically correct with the 4 chambers. Typically it's drawn, with the 2 lobules red, and sometimes there's an arrow through it. And the shape of the heart is said to go back almost as far as St. Valentine, well, not quite as far, into the 1400s anyway. There was a plant called the Silphium, which had a leaf shaped like Valentine, the round heart-shaped Valentine. It was also thought to be the leaf was supposed to have some contraceptive properties. So, it's hard to tell. There's a lot of different stories around the heart, whether the part that goes in is, people's hand around the anatomically correct heart. It was thought that the Roman thinkers thought the heart is the center of all emotions, as we say, you got to have heart of my hearts. The soul is in your heart. It really makes being a cardiologist fun because we have the organ that, is the center of the soul, so to speak. Probably is more the brain, perhaps. If you talk to Jill Bolte-Taylor, I've had on the podcast, she'll probably say the right brain is more the seat of our emotion. But I like to think of that old heart beating as long as it beats, we have the capacity for a connectedness between us. So is Valentine's Day a reason to go off the plant-based wagon and indulge in all kinds of milk chocolates and decadent desserts and shrimp and lobster and prime rib and all those things that actually cause heart disease? I think not. I am going to make a link, because I haven't done that in a long time, to a recipe for a little chocolate lava cake that I found online that contained applesauce, it contained maple syrup, oat flour. They called it for plant milk protein. I didn't use that. Cacao powder and some chocolate yogurt. I didn't use that. I think you could substitute in silken tofu with the cacao. I think that would make in a little chocolate, dark 85% chocolate square on top, and you bake it for about 20 minutes, and it's nice. It kind of puffs up like a decadent cake, and it's in a little dish. So it's a great dessert. Our cookbook has some great desserts in it as well for cake that are made without oil. Again, I think a dinner that doesn't cause heartburn, indigestion, clogged arteries makes for a better evening than one that is, all full of oil and grease and cholesterol that you have to pay for and gives you indigestion and might end up in the hospital with it. So, I don't think that that's a necessary thing. So choose your Valentine's Day dinner wisely. And again, why not me? Why not be healthy? Why not love yourself? Why not love the people you're with? And show them by having a nice, healthy Valentine's Day dinner. So it can be done. And I also, I go back to, I believe that you can make food together, make foods for someone is the ultimate appreciation of love. So to go out and let somebody else make you a poor meal and wait. I remember, a few Valentine's Day that didn't go as planned, ended up at, some restaurant at 11 o'clock at night trying to get a seating and things not going well. So if you eat at home, you can plan your meal. You can make one of those little chocolate lava cakes and have a wonderful evening and not risk, getting off your nutritional wagon or risk that precious heart of yours. And as part of that, there was a study done that I'll make a link to that looked at what's called a feasibility diet. And, we have keto, paleo, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, plant-based, and now there is flexitarian, pescatarian, vegetarian, right? Now there is a feasibility diet. And this is a study that was out of Norway. But what was great about this study is they looked at if you optimize fruits and vegetables and decrease animal products, processed foods. So you're going more towards, really, in reality, a plant-based diet and further away from a standard American or Western diet full of oil and meat and dairy and things. What could you do to life expectancy? So they used a model, a mathematical model based on life expectancy and different food groups and studies. And they looked at how much longer would you live if you were to adopt a healthier diet. Now remember, this is a feasibility diet. It's not a plant-based diet, which I'm going to say is even more healthy than the feasibility diet. But it's a good step in the right direction. So if you were 20 and you started a feasibility diet, you would improve your longevity by 10 years if you were a woman and 13 years if you were a man. If you were 60 years of age, you would add 8 years if you were a woman and 8.8 if you were a man. The food that increased longevity the most are beans. Just by increasing bean content, decreasing animal products content, you increase life expectancy 2.2 years in women and 2.5 years in men. Whole grains, you can increase your life expectancy by 2.2 years. Less red meat, you'll add 1.6 years to your life if you're a woman and 1.9 if you're a man. One of the best parts of the study was even if you're 80 years old and you start a feasibility diet, not a plant-based diet, but just a feasibility diet. Just think what you could do if you went a whole food plant-based. But even a feasibility diet, you get improvement in your longevity. And that's just longevity. That's not talking about health span. Because we have the ability to keep people alive on ventilators and with medications and doing all kinds of procedures and stents and joint replacement and all those things and chemotherapy. That's not necessarily a quality of life, but a quantity of life. This is just talking about quantity of life. Just think about the quality of life if you were to adopt a plant-based lifestyle today. So if you're not plant-based and you know somebody that's not eating plant-based, I met someone today that eats very little plants. Even if they make that move in the right direction now in their 60s, they're going to see a substantial improvement, not only in life expectancy, but I will say in health span. So I think that's a really cool thing. If you want to do some protection with your brain, there's a recent study looking at Allicin, an antioxidant, which protects neuroprotective. It decreases cognitive impairment, decreases your decline in memory and ability to think by downregulating a chemical called NADPH and decreasing oxidation, and it decreases the reactive oxygen species. So things that are inflammatory metabolic waste, basically it helps to get rid of, decreases neuroinflammation, inhibits some other pathways that lead to brain dysfunction, inhibits cholinesterase and butyryl cholinesterase, which may help with Alzheimer's disease. It improves neurotransmitters, which may improve the cognitive function of people with autism and spectrum disorder. We know that people with autism also have a strong relationship with their brain-gut axis and the microbiome. Just improving what they eat will improve their brain function. In addition, Allicin, and I didn't tell you where it comes from or what one of the biggest things, but it's garlic. So just by increasing your garlic, you may decrease tumor growth, increase the destruction of cancer cells. There's also some decrease in cholesterol and glucose, decrease in platelet stickiness, blood pressure, toxins. There's some antibacterial properties, again, to garlic and onion species in general, so all kinds of onions, but garlic as well. So when you're making that Valentine's Day dinner, make sure you use lots of garlic. Then you can have the chocolate cake, maybe put some mint leaves on it, it'll be all right. But if everybody's having garlic, it'll be all right. So it is amazing. People say, well, why can't I just take a garlic pill? There's nothing better than the real thing. And if you want to make a nice, if you take that sourdough bread and you roast some garlic and spread some of that on top of it, could be delicious with a pasta dinner, just saying. So that ought to help you get where you're going over Valentine's Day. And I'll make a link to the lava cake and those studies. If your nutrition or transition to plant-based nutrition or weight loss or diabetes control or vascular disease is not going the way you'd like it to, it's a process. It's a process that we get better at along the way. All of us have made improvements as we've transitioned. But I think it's helpful to know that simple things like adding garlic to your food or onions or eating more beans, less meat, a feasibility diet, you're going to make progress, and there's no reason to throw in the towel. I think it's a good thing to assess where you are and give yourself credit for what you've done so far and the strides that you're making. But when you give yourself credit for what you've done and how you've changed, then also keep those goals in mind, what you want and what you're really after. Is it to be able to play with your grandkids, to go on a vacation, run a marathon, do a split, just saying, do a pistol squat, just saying, not have pain, improve mobility, improve your life expectancy. Keep that and write that down with what you've done and reassess. The metrics of blood pressure and glucose and weight are metrics meant to give feedback and reassess and then redirect. They're not failure metrics. They're not that you're bad or you haven't, you have no control or you have no willpower, but it's an opportunity to redirect and make choices and take control of your own situation. So I give yourself a break. Give your Valentine a break. If you don't have a Valentine, you can be my Valentine. I appreciate everybody that listens. And I do believe that the heart is where it's at, and it's the heart of hearts and heart of the matter and the seat of the soul. And we all have the ability to do great things. Why not me? So if you'd like to learn more about our practice, go on over to drdulaney.com, DoctorDulaney, and check out what we have to offer in our practice. We have a full-time registered dietitian, Addie Dulaney Meinerich. We have Zoom classes, Zoom nutrition classes, lots of recipes, lots of things going on online, wellness, mobility. You can sign up for our newsletter. We give a recipe and some tips every month. You can check out our cookbook. You can get it really quick. It's even on the Kindle version, so you can get it really quick so you can make a good Valentine's Day dinner. I'll make links to what I talked about. And I wish each and every one of you a happy Valentine's Day, but more than that, a happy and healthy 2022 and on into the future, and a very long health span as well as increased longevity. Thank you for listening.
Heart of my heart, I love that melody. Heart of my heart, brings back a memory. When we were kids on the corner of the street, we were rough and ready guys, but oh how we could harmonize. Heart of my heart, means friends were dear then. Too bad we had to part. I know a tear would glisten if only I could listen to everybody singing Heart of my heart. Everybody now, come on! Heart of my heart, I love that melody. Hey! Heart of my heart, brings back a memory. We were kids on the corner of the street. You know that we were rough and ready. Everybody! But oh, how we could harmonize. Heart of my heart, means friends were dear then. Too bad we had to part. I know a tear would glisten if only I could listen to everybody singing Heart of my